Welcome to the Communication Diva Podcast, episode 135. Today's episode covers the subject of how volunteer work on your resume can help you get the job, unless your name is Katniss Everdeen.
Hey everyone, Jen Swanson here, your host of the Communication Diva Podcast, where I help you to get the job, love your work, and advance your career. I have two exciting pieces of info for you before we jump into our topic of the day. The first is the winner of our giveaway prize. The prize was for leaving us a podcast review in iTunes, and someone named Kay Percha is the winner. Kay is the first initial, and then P-U-R-C-H-A. Now, I don't have contact info for you, Kay Percha, so if you're listening, please shoot me an email at jenn@communicationdiva.com so that I can get you your prize, which is a copy of our soon-to-be-launched online course called How to Ace a Job Interview When You Haven't Interviewed in a Long Time. Now, the course is only going to be open for registration for 1 week from July 31st, which happens to be my birthday, to August 7th, 2017. So if you or someone you know needs to get ready for a job interview, this will be your chance to purchase the course. Once you purchase it, you can take it whenever you want. You can have it for as long as you want, but the actual registration window is only going to be open for 1 week. If you want to know more about this course that Kay Percha has won a copy of, it's worth $149 as our introductory price. You can watch some videos that are open, some preview videos. You can see the curriculum. You can find out more about it by visiting the website, and I'll give you the direct page for it. So it is courses.communicationdiva.com. So it's on the communicationdiva.com website under courses, online courses, but you can also go directly there by courses.communicationdiva.com, and you just click on the How to Ace a Job Interview box, and you will see all of the information there. All right, so that was one piece of exciting news. The second piece of exciting news, I can't tell you about completely because although I'm not superstitious, I don't want to jinx it, and I don't want to disappoint in case something happens. But if all goes well, I am bringing you a hugely famous guest next week on the show. This person is an actor and an author and has spent many years teaching people how to communicate more efficiently and effectively in order to do their jobs better. And so I am beyond thrilled to have this celebrity on our show. And again, I'm not telling you who yet, just in case something happens, but I guarantee you will know who this person is no matter where in the world you are listening to this from. So stay tuned for next week's episode. You won't want to miss it. And I tell you, I was doing the happy dance all over my kitchen when I was approached about this. So I am very excited, and I just am hoping that all goes well for me to bring you this episode next week. All right, so turning to this week's topic, those were my very two exciting things. Turning to this week's topic, how volunteer work on your resume could get you the job. All right. Well, something I learned recently is that applicants themselves seem to dismiss or diminish the importance of volunteer work when considering what to include on a resume. There was a 2016 impact survey done by Deloitte in the US that says that only 30% of the applicants that did their survey bothered to include volunteer experience on their resumes. And this was really surprising, given that the same survey said that hiring managers highly value volunteer work on a resume. So there's somehow a disconnect. There's somehow something missing in between here when hiring managers very much want volunteer work included, want to see volunteer work, but applicants don't figure 30% or only 30% figure that it's important. I was helping someone put a resume together recently, and I asked about volunteer work, and she seemed really surprised, as though she had never considered including her volunteer experience because it wasn't related to the job she was applying for. And this is really unfortunate. It's rather an oversight because it does count. And I've had employers at the youth workshops, the interview workshops that I lead a few times a year with a coworker from the government employment agency and the library system here. I've had employers tell me directly that volunteer work on a resume, even if it's unrelated to the job that the person's applying for, is extremely important and can actually cause an employer to choose one resume over another when they're sorting resumes out, when they're deciding who they're going to call in for the next step for the interview. If two people are equally qualified, but one has volunteer work listed and the other doesn't, almost all of the time, the resume with the volunteer work will win out. And you might be asking, why? Why is that so important? What is so important about volunteering? Why should I include it? And if I don't have any volunteer experience to list, should I be going out and getting some? So all of these, if I do say so myself, are excellent questions, and I'm going to answer them for you today. So let's look at the first couple of questions. What is so important about volunteering, and why should I include it on my resume? So what it does is, first of all, it shows that you are interested in things beyond academic credit, so beyond getting a training certificate or a piece of paper or letters behind your name, and it shows that you are interested in more than just income or a paycheck, which is a big thing. Volunteering shows dedication. It shows initiative and compassion and commitment. And it's one thing to have these qualities, personal traits, listed on a resume, but it's a completely different thing to have verifiable volunteer work listed that demonstrates all of that. And by verifiable, I mean that if the employer wants to, they can contact the organization that you volunteered for and verify that indeed you did work there and that you do have these qualities and these traits. So listing them without showing that you're a volunteer, that's great. But if you have volunteer experience, that's a communication. That speaks louder than actually just saying I'm a compassionate person, right? If you've got that you're volunteering at an animal shelter or a homeless shelter or doing something that is compassionate, then that's proof that you are. Volunteer work shows that you're a well-rounded person. And again, it doesn't matter if it's not exactly in the same field as what it is that you want to be working in. Managers hire people these days not just for their skills, not just for their education and experience, but more and more they are hiring people for their cultural fit, for how they will fit personality-wise, how they will fit value-wise into the workplace culture. And so volunteering can say a lot about a person as a whole, because if other people in the organization and if the organization itself is interested in giving back to the community, then to have a person, to hire a person who already does that is going to be a better fit than somebody who's maybe never ever done anything for anyone else. So it's an important thing. And again, when people are hiring for cultural fit, volunteer work can speak volumes and be really, really helpful. Volunteering shows leadership. It shows compassion. It shows an openness to new experiences. It can be collaborative. It can demonstrate that you're interested in building community. Most volunteer jobs involve working with others or working for others. And so that can develop skills and can show that you can work in teams. If you're organizing a big event or if you're working with a group of other people, again, it's a great opportunity. What it also does is it gives you really good stories. Volunteering can give you a ton of new transferable skills and can deepen skills that you already have, just give you more experience in them and more practice using them. And it can also give you really good stories. So in the interview course that's launching in July, there's a section I talk in there about how to talk about scenario questions. So the interviewer will ask you a question about, tell me about a time when you dealt with conflict, or tell me about a time when you took initiative and did something, or tell me about a time when you had to use your resources. So volunteer work can give you those stories. You can have experiences where maybe you had to use your resources, or where you had to solve some conflict. So there are lots and lots of experiences that you will have volunteering that can then be used to answer some of these interview questions that you might be asked, these behavioral questions that might be asked. Volunteer work is highly valued in the corporate world. A lot of corporations are philanthropic. They like to work for causes. They like to give back to the communities in which they're situated, and that is a value that it goes across all industries. There are all sorts of organizations that actually have programs within them that give back. I worked at a college once that had a dental program, and the dental program once a year, and I don't know if it was because I wasn't in that department, but I don't know if it was for one day or for 2 days or for a week or what it was, but they would hire a trolley bus and they would go around the neighborhood, and some of the dental hygienist students would be dressed as the tooth fairy, and they would go around the neighborhood and they would pick up people who otherwise would not be able to afford dental care, people who didn't have coverage, people who didn't have enough money to private pay for dentists. And they would pick up all these people who were living in, low income. In some cases, they were homeless people, pick them up, bring them back to the college, and they would then look after them for the day. They would look at their teeth. They would give them cleanings. They would teach them how to brush and do dental hygiene properly, how to look after themselves, give them all toothbrushes. There was just all sorts of things. And it was this delightful time speaking with people who worked in that department. They just loved that time, and they loved the smiles, and they loved helping people, and they were giving back to the community that they're located in, and so many organizations do the same thing, and so to hire people that have that compassionate, giving back value already embedded in them is probably important to them. Another thing that you can get yourself out of volunteering, there are so many things, is that you can use it as career exploration. Maybe there is an organization or an industry or a type of work that you have thought you might be interested, that you think you might be interested in, and that you maybe would like to explore a little. Maybe you can volunteer in a veterinary clinic if you're interested in going into veterinary work. Maybe there's another area that you can volunteer in just to see if indeed it's something you're interested in doing. And lots of organizations have those kinds of opportunities where you can explore. Maybe you'll be volunteering with, not directly for an organization, but maybe you'll be volunteering with other people who work in that organization that you're interested in. For example, sometimes first responders and police have programs where they are volunteering in different organizations. Maybe you get to hang out with a bunch of them and find out more about their jobs. So career exploration is one benefit that you can get from volunteer work. Volunteer work can also lead directly to employment. It can, if you've been volunteering in an organization for a number of years and all of a sudden a job opportunity comes up, a paid job opportunity, you might be the natural fit, the natural shoe-in. If you've already been part of the organization and everyone likes what you're doing and you've learned and you've grown, maybe people say, well, let's hire that person. They already know us. They don't need to be trained. So it can lead directly to employment. The other thing it can do is it can expand your network and your personal and professional circles. So if you're volunteering in a field, a related field, you can expand your network. You would know more people. You would know more people personally. You'd know more people professionally. And you might get some very, very solid references out of it. So if you've been working somewhere volunteering, you might be able to rely on some of the people that you volunteer with to give you good job references in the jobs, or to let you know about jobs that come open. Someone might say, "Oh, I know of a job in this company. I'll put in a good word for you because I've watched what you've done these past 3 years," etc. So you never know, but what it will do is it will expand your circle of acquaintance, and you'll get to know people, and people will get to know you and your skills and your abilities, and that can only be a good thing. Volunteering can also help you to market your skills, your hard skills and your soft skills. So you might be the person that people want to talk to have listen to them. Maybe you're the person that is really good dealing with children. Maybe you're very good dealing with upset people. Maybe you're very good in conflict situations. Maybe you're an excellent public speaker and you're the one that everyone wants to have speak at these events. Those might be some of the skills. Maybe you're very, very good with a computer and everyone says, "Get that person. They're really good with the computer. They know how to do it." So your hard skills and your soft skills can be put to use, and people will notice, which would allow you to, again, have good references, but also would be a way to showcase what it is that you do and you know how to do. There are lots and lots and lots of good reasons why it's a good idea. And I will even go as far as to say it's a great idea to have volunteer work on your resume if you have the experience. Which leads me to my next question. What happens if you don't? What happens if you don't? If you haven't gotten around to volunteering yet, if you haven't had the time because your schedule is crazy busy? It's not the end of the world if you don't. If you've been in school full time, or you've been in school and working, or you've been working and doing an internship and doing all sorts of other things, those show dedication and commitment too, and there's nothing wrong with that. And given that only 30% include volunteer work on their resumes, you're not going to be standing out as missing something. But I would still suggest that you consider finding a few hours in your week somewhere to offer your time and your efforts and your skills and your talents to something that you're passionate about, and not just so that you can add it to your resume. There might be something that happens once a year that you can clear some time from your schedule to help with. It doesn't have to be an ongoing regular thing. It can also just be something that happens once in a while. Find some way to give back, some way to offer help to someone or to an organization that would benefit from your help. And honestly, there are countless organizations looking for helping hands. Every religious organization has outreach projects that need extra help and extra hands. Community organizations, food banks, animal shelters, community dinners, people to help with elections and civic events, knocking on doors, handing out pamphlets, people to help in homeless shelters and in places like hospital thrift shops, where all the money from the thrift store goes to support the hospital projects to buy, new equipment, or goes to the hospices. I just heard this today, about a massive community event called Rib Fest. I had no idea there was such an event. I don't live in the community where this is held, and apparently it's this long-standing, massive community event that goes on for quite some time and has hundreds and hundreds of people attend. And apparently there are special rib chefs, like I'm talking about spare ribs and pork ribs and I don't know. I guess I have to go and find out. But these special chefs travel around to all these different festivals and events that are all about cooking ribs. Like, who knew? Well, I guess hundreds of people knew, but I didn't know. Anyway, I know a certain intro voice man who adores, and I mean adores, ribs. So I'm going to have to maybe take him to this event. I had coffee today with a woman whose husband is the chair of one of these events, and she said she's volunteering on one of the days for 4 hours at the Lost and Found tent. She's a real people person, and so she's using her people skills to work in the Lost and Found tent. So the scope of where and how you volunteer is where you can find opportunities is endless. If you don't have any experience volunteering and you're looking for some, you might even want to get a bit strategic about it. You might want to develop some new skills. You might want to use skills that you already have and just build on your experience. You might want to help out an organization that needs your skills. For example, if you're good at social media, maybe you could help do the social media campaign for a nonprofit organization or for a community event. Maybe you're really good at organizing people and you could help with that. Maybe you're a really good baker and you could make cookies for something. I don't know. I was dealing with a resume once not that long ago, and I had to call in the references. My job was to call the references for the person and to hear all about this young man, and I had to call a community person that this young man had volunteered for. And he'd started when he was about 15, and he'd volunteered for the past 5 years, helping to organize a citywide run, like a 5K marathon type run. And the first year when he was 15 and he volunteered, he did things like hang up signs and put up banners and set up tables and move chairs and take things down at the end and clean up. But by the last year of his volunteering, he was darn well organizing almost the whole thing, and he was in charge of the advertising campaigns. And the man that I was speaking to, his reference, said he was really sad to be losing such a fantastic volunteer, and that he would hire him in a second because of what a great worker he was, that he was reliable and consistent, and that he had learned so much and progressed so fast. And the man said that his getting hired elsewhere was going to leave a very big hole in their volunteer organization. It was an absolutely beautiful reference. I mean, by the end of the conversation, I wanted to hire this young man. That wasn't my part of the job, but he sounded like just a phenomenal person, and that he had done so much in, his from 15 to 20 age range in this particular organization, and people were really, really sad that he was going to be leaving to go on to paid work. So don't overlook is my point. Don't overlook the volunteer work. Be in that 30% that do list volunteer experience if you've got it on your resume. And if you haven't got any, consider rearranging your life a little bit so that you can go out and get busy and get some to include on your resume. You'll be helping other people. You'll be expanding your circle, your networks. You'll be learning new skills. You'll be stretching yourself a little bit, and you'll be helping your chances immensely the next time you are looking for a new job. It's truly a win-win situation all around. There's no negatives in this idea of doing volunteer work somewhere in your life. All right. That's it for this week. Check out the course page at courses.communicationdiva.com and see what we've got going on there that will help you to get the job, love your work, and advance your career. And do tune in next week, because if all goes well, you'll be hearing my interview with an award-winning celebrity who is a phenomenal teacher of all things communication. This is Jen Swanson. Until next time, thank you so much for listening.